Okay. Okay. And Sudhirji, you want to continue, sir?
Sure. Just as a swan leaves a lake that is dried up, never to return, in the same manner, when the water of youth is dried up, one's life hastens to renounce the body forever. The mind in the ignorant continues to tumble into the dark well of the world process and to sink in the stagnating waters of delusion, where miseries abide like numerous frogs. With youth as it waves, desire, anger, hatred, and fear as it form, and greed and craving as its whirlpool, the life of the ignorant continues to flow on in vain. And it is actually just explaining the world, the illusion of life, when a swan is actually as like um, a lake, and as like a swan leaving a dried lake. When the when the youth actually dries up, okay, it actually one's life and it actually the body is actually the life also goes out of your body once the body is actually not capable of holding it, right? So that way, it is actually equating to the that leaving the life is from your body is equated to the swan leaving a is dried up, and the mind, an ignorant mind actually going to get into the whirlpool of the world and world affairs that all the cravings and all it actually ignorant is, and it will, or whatever you are doing, it is actually going to be in vain, because all the world process is actually going to drag you into it, not you are not going to get out of that world process.
Yeah. Yeah. Very nice. Thank you, sir. And Uma Shankar, you want to read, Amma?
I just last అండి బుక్ కింద పడిపోయింది. ఎన్నో పేజ్ అండి?
Page 192. Oh, friend, such thoughts as. Page
ఓకే,
192 in Upashama Prakarana.
అవునండి. ఓ ఫ్రెండ్, such thoughts as I have performed this work, I am doing this work, and I am going to do that work, serve only as a net trap to the bird of intellect and to keep it in a state of delusion. And just as an intoxicated elephant continues to smash lotuses in a lake, such thoughts as this is my friend and that is my enemy continue to injure the tender feelings of the heart. He who considers the body as the self continues to accumulate countless miseries, even though his innermost self is ever detached and unaffected by them. Tossed by pleasure and pain, pounded by the storm of age and death, of living being continues to drift through this world process like a dry leaf in a mountain forest. Sage Vashishta said, O Rama, these two friends lived together and conversed on spiritual matters in this way until they became liberated.
Yeah. Want to comment, Amma?
Um, Last para doesn't match the above. How can these two friends live together and considered as converse on spiritual matters on this way until they became liberated?
Right.
అంటే ఇక్కడ I am doing that, I am going అదంతా ఉంది కదా.
Ah. Yeah, see, they are discussing that there is not that they are saying that I, okay?
Yeah.
They are saying, oh friend, such thoughts as I have performed this work, that means having the ego, I did this, I am the karta, aham is the bhokta. Okay. With that kinds of thoughts, one continues to live in this world process. So that question of that attachment to one's own self, that ego has to go. That's why I understand it. Because they think that body is the self. That's what the second paragraph says. He who considers the body as the self continues to accumulate countless miseries. Because I did it, so I am the have to enjoy the results of my action. Okay, so so that's why you always see in anything, if somebody has done some good actions and say, "Who did this?" "Oh, I did it." And if somebody doesn't recognize them in a at the end of a gnana yagna or something, "Oh, I did all this and nobody said anything about thanked me." So why? Because that I have the feeling I did it. Okay. So if you have a real volunteer spirit, you don't look for any thanks from anyone, because you did it and that was the end of the story. Just like a mother who does actions uh, to the child from 24/7, okay, and doesn't look for thanks for the child. Okay, so that's why one child to you. That I feel that is the understanding. And of course this story is told to us of the sadhakas and the benefit of satsang. And so they continue to converse like that doesn't mean they were just talking to each other all. I'm sure they were doing the uh,
Yeah.
meditation, japa, and all that, and along with their conversations together. And so, the only thing that I learned from that is yes, satsang helps. So,
Yeah, and that what I understood, the Basa and Vilasa is actually just they are actually in this path. Normally they talk about it. Why I'm just saying is whenever myself and Anjanji's come together, we just talk about all the same thing, right? Then there this I or you always will come. You should not be doing this. You should be doing this kind of thing. That is what it's a conversation between two, I mean, jnanis, okay, they are actually rich
right,
relative. So after that, what happens is it actually will pass the information, so the other person also get elevated with
right,
that and knowledge. So there's two friends, they're actually talking together, and they actually kindly got that, as I said, satsang. It's a satsang. Two people
right,
satsang
right,
and then getting the.
right. Yeah.
Mm.
You can see, if
Yeah.
you go back and see the story, that how they know what one should do, what one should not do. What kind of attachment you should have, what kind of attachment you should not have. Don't be attached to your body and the worldly things. Be attached to the gnanam, moksha.
Isn't
And
this the same thing we are learning in Vakyavritti about the Dushta Chatushtaya that you were telling us, Raghuji, the
yeah,
Ahankara, Mamakara, Raga, and Dvesha, right?
exactly. Exactly. So that's the whole thing. Whether you read Bhagavad Gita or Upanishad or Vakyaroti, things like that, it's the same subject matter. You are right. So you can those who have read like that, you can always see the parallel in from other books. Thank you. Okay. So he continues to tell us, hey, if you continue to be attached to the aham and mama, that you will continue to have create more and more bondage, like a silkworm creating a cocoon for itself. And so, let us see. Veena Amma, you want to start?
Hari Om.
Hari Amma.
Attachment as the cause of bondage. Sage Vasishta continued, O Rama, the ocean that is difficult for an ordinary bird to cross becomes like a pit full of water made by a cow's hoof for the majestic Garuda. In the same manner, the miseries of the world, which are like vast ocean for most people, are easily crossed by one who is endowed with spiritual knowledge. Miseries of the world terminate when a person gives up his identity with his physical as well as mental body. Just as a person would behold a crowd from a distance, in the same manner a sage beholds his body with the distant objectivity. Let the body be overcome by various miseries. How can the soul be affected thereby? The self abides in the chariot of the body, and when the latter is destroyed, the soul is not affected.
Yeah. Want to
So
comment?
so it's explaining that the person with the spiritual background or spiritual knowledge, the biggest miseries are like very small or they overcome very easily, while a non-spiritual person, the smallest problem can be like a big, huge problem. So spirituality help overcome the difficulties or miseries of life.
Yeah.
And the sage looks at his body very objectively from the distance and do not identify with the physical and mental body. Also, when the body overcomes with miseries, and when the body is destroyed, it does not affect the soul in any way.
Right. Yeah. Beautiful. Very nice. So
Hari
that's one thing. All this is for us to remember and practice daily life. Okay. When uh, I have a cough or a cold or a backache or fracture a leg, whatever. Okay. Don't say, oh, why did it happen to me? Okay, things like that. Okay, well, that is prarabdha of the body. It happened, and I will help the body to take care. So you don't neglect it, but you take care of the body. But don't be identified with, oh, I happened. Why did it happen? Don't cry and be miserable. And so that way, one way of looking at it is, hey, there's the prarabdha of the body is getting exhausted. I'm happy. Okay. So, but if we continue to be attached to the body, then you won't be able to think of your real nature as Atman. So, for me, all this is a sadhana to help me to detach myself from the body attachment. Even when I'm sick and all that, take care of the sickness and try to think, hey, the body is sick. Raghu is sick, not me. I'm not Raghu. So that kind of a practice that I need to continue to do. So
And then that line, right? The sage beholds his body with a distant objectivity. That's it.
right,
No
right.
attachment to the body thing.
Right, exactly, exactly. There's always I remember the story of this Ramadas from from South India. Uh, Anytime that he talked about himself, he would say, "Oh, Ramdas slept. Oh, Ramdas fell down. Oh, Ramdas is hungry." Like that. He is not. That he had become realized. He said, Ramadas is doing, Ramadas is there, Ramadas is there. But saying that I am not Ramadas. So, like that. Okay. And Vijay, are you here today? No? No. Vishwa, you want to continue, sir?
Hari Om, Raghuji.
Are you?
Even when the mind is agitated, in what way can the self be affected? How can a whirlpool affect the vast oceans? Tell me in what manner is a swan related to a lake in which he sports, or how are drifting logs related to the river. In fact, there is no relationship. The swan is ever detached from the lake, and the logs are ever detached from the water. In the same manner, self is ever detached from the body and the mind. Just as a reflection is not related to its mirror, in the same manner, the body is not related to the Atman. Just as wood, water, and stone, even though agitated and beaten, do not suffer misery, in the same manner, the body, which is just a composite of five elements, does not suffer misery in itself. Misery is projected on it by the mind. It is ignorance which causes the mind to perceive misery in the body.
Yeah. Comment?
Yeah, from a body detachment aspect, Raghuji, I think Guruji is further explaining here about the mind aspect. You know the so it's actually not no, at the grosser level it looks like the body, but everything is happening from the mind. The manomaya kosha is is what kind of expands it further to the grosser level. So I think that understanding and being awareness that everything is happening at the mind level is very important. Is what last
Right.
two para is talking about. Raj.
Correct. So that's why the Vedantic knowledge of Tattva Bodha is very, very important for us. That this BMI complex is not just one entity, it's got 5 layers. The cross body, then the Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, Anandamaya Kosha, and all that. And knowing all these things, that I am none of these 5. I am the Atman beyond it. Anything that happens to all these things, okay, the other get affected. Okay. When you talk of the gross body, okay, whatever happens to the gross body, the mind is attached to it and say, oh, I am healthy. Oh, I am sick. Because the body is sick, but the mind identifies itself with it. So that identification is what it causes this misery. And so the body got sick, and the body doesn't know that it's sick. Okay. Body doesn't know this as cancer, but it's the mind. Okay. So that's why in early part of the 6th chapter Bhagavad Gita, it says the self is the friend of the self, and the self is the enemy of the self. Being that the mind that is attached to this body and the worldly things is an enemy of the one's own self. But the mind that is detached from this body and the worldly objects is a friend that it can be directed to meditation.
Yeah, I always think, Raghuji, like how human science, is important to to help the society. So that's why we have all these medical professions, and same way every person, every human being, if they are aware of the spiritual knowledge, I think they can themselves self cure. Even if there is a challenge that is happening in their life, through this knowledge, they can fine tune their mind, thoughts, and
Right.
I always think that is very important.
Right. I'm glad you brought the question of the doctor. See, doctor is like our guru is like a doctor. Okay, he can prescribe things, but you have to practice it. So without practicing, you cannot say, "Oh, my guru is going to touch me and heal me." The doctor cannot do anything to heal you, but he can tell you what to do. You have to do what he prescribes. Same way with the guru Shishya relation. And so many people uh, blindly believe, oh, my guru will take care. No. So, what are you doing? Your effort. Guru can only direct you. Yeah, beautiful. Very nice. Okay. I see Sirishama here. Uh, do you want to read, Amma? You are muted. No. Okay. Akila?
Sorry. Yes. I'm. I can read next time. I have the book, but I don't know where we are in the book.
Okay. You are in the Upashama Prakarana?
Yes, I have that.
194, the second paragraph, just as wood.
You mean 294?
194,
Oh, one. Okay.
Upashama Prakarana.
I apologize. Let me just read next time because
Okay, Amma.
I
Akila
don't want to
Amma,
take up time.
continue, Amma.
Right? An ignorant person takes this apparent world to be real, but a wise man, ignoring the apparent world, perceives Brahman, the Supreme Self, as the only reality. Just as a stone, though abiding in water, is detached from the water, in the same way, a wise sage, though abiding in the world of objects, is devoid of attachment. Because it is the mind that creates attachments to objects, when the mind is inwardly rid of all attachments, then all external contacts become free of karmic involvements. Pure consciousness alone exists, devoid of noble objects of the world. Consciousness is never tinged with the taint of duality. The concept that the self is affected by duality belongs only to the mind overpowered by ignorance. Though experiencing pleasure and pain in relation to dream objects in a dream, a person is free of them at all times. In the same manner, though experiencing the world in the state of ignorance, one is ever free of the body and all other limitations. So here, Guruji is telling us very nicely about the example of the stone is so beautiful, how the stone is abiding in the water, yet it is free, it is not attached to the water. It was such a beautiful example, Raghuji, and how we should keep our mind not attached to anything of this world. That was very relatable and beautiful. And not be of this world and just live in this world knowing that we are not this body and mind and intellect.
Yeah. So we have to continue to think, brainwash ourselves in, if you want to put this word, that this world is a dream. Okay. Actually, it's not brainwashing. It is you have brainwashed yourself thinking that this world is real. Okay. And so you should get out of the delusion this world is real. That my real nature is pure awareness, consciousness. So
But
very nice.
at the same time, it says that you should not be attached to the body, but you should use the body as an equipment or instrument to reach that, right?
Yes.
That is all.
Correct, correct, correct. So when you talk of detachment, we're talking of detachment in the sense of what you call not getting attached to the world. Only when you are attached to the body as aham, then you develop the question of mama. I want this, I want that, and all that. Because then you are limiting yourself. But yes, once you develop the detachment, just like this beautiful, simple instruction by Gurudev, detach and attach. So you can't remain detached from the world, but you have to attach yourself to the Atman Brahman, that Aham Brahmasmi. So that's the only way that you can continue to make progress. But because that's why he said, if you in the Sadhan Chatushtaya Sampannata, you've developed Vairagya to the world and you have Shatka Sampatti, but unless you have Mumukshutvam, all this dispassion and Shatka Sampatti is useless. Okay. So you need that Viveka and the Mumukshutvam. So, okay, Nuligaru, you want to continue, sir?
Hari Om.
Hari Om, sir.
O Rama, the ego idea is the root cause of birth, old age, death, and numerous miseries in life. He who is free of the ego idea is indeed liberated from the world process. Just as a crystal or a statue that harbors inner cracks is unfit for worship, in the same manner, a mind that harbors attachments is devoid of purity. He whose mind is free of attachments is ever pure and adorable. When the mind is free of attachments and impurities, a person is liberated even though existing in the world. But if the mind is attached to objects, even after practicing years of austerity, he is bound to the world process. Well, the theme is the same, but of course, he is talking about in the first thing, it is the ego which causes this attachment to the world process.
Yeah.
And it is the same thing like the mind is like a cracked statue or a harbor.
Yeah.
So it is not, as long as it's not pure, it is not fit for the realization.
Right. Yeah. What is the goal of practicing all the so-called virtues? Okay, being truthful, being humble, being honest, and being serene, and all that is to purify the mind. Okay, you're not accumulating any punyas or anything from that. Okay, you want to purify your mind by practicing all the virtues in your life. That way, you will not attach it to your body, mind, and the senses. So, when the mind is free of attachments and impurities, naturally a person is liberated. That kind of a person who has such a pure heart, okay, is not even thinking of liberation. Okay, he's already liberated. Okay, he said, "Oh, I want to be liberated. I want no," because he knows he's not the body, mind, the intellect, and he has no attachment to this world, and he's just like a drama. I'm going through here, and so. If tomorrow, if the body drops or whatever the world that you are in is gone, you're not really affected by it. So, Dinesh ji, want to continue, sir?
Just as a sleeping person, though inactive in his body, experiences various miserable conditions in his dream, in the same manner, overpowered by the illusion of egoism, though essentially devoid of all miseries, the soul continues to wander in the long dream of the world process. O Rama, if the chitta is active without harboring attachment within itself, its actions do not create bondage. But if internal attachments remain intact within the depths of the chitta, one remains in the realms of bondage. When one's mind is attached to the beloved who lives in a distant land, he remains indifferent to the immediate circumstances that surround him. He is unaware of the cold and heat as well as of the activities around him. In the same manner, he whose mind is free of attachment and thus absorbed in the beloved self, such a person is not touched by virtue and vice accruing from the performance of actions. O Rama, renounce this attachment to objects which is the cause of all miseries in this world. When attachment is renounced, mind becomes one with the divine self, even like a river merging in the sea.
Comment?
The comment is attachment. That's the biggest thing. We all know attachment is not good for us,
Yeah.
but we still continue to experience it.
Yeah.
You know, One of the things that has inspired me a great deal is is the Ramayana, where Raja Dashrath, when he is about to leave this body, how much he loved Sri Rama. He was just wanted him to be in front of his eyes, and that attachment just basically took him away from this world.
Yeah, yeah,
So too much attachment is not good. Stop.
Raghuji, rather than saying generalizing attachment is not good, attachment towards worldly things, sense pleasures is not good. But still, the spiritual attachment or the spiritual thirst, as we say, as in Sanskrit it says mamukshutva is also a kind of attachment, right? You are attaching to your inner self, as Gurudev
right.
says.
Yeah, sure.
Attachment is required, but the it's just a thought there, Raghuji.
Right.
Your comments.
Yeah, you are right in the sense that if you look at it as an individual, as Raghu, okay, then you detach from your body, mind, the intellect as with a pure intellect and attach yourself to the pure Atman, that Aham Brahmasmi. So yes, that's why I said detach and attach, and that's. But if you really look at it, that is not really an attachment, because you want to be your own self. That your real nature is Atman, and you want to remain as an Atman. You want to give up your false identification with the BMI. That's all you are doing. So all of us
Can
want what? Happiness. Okay? But because of ignorance, we think that ignorance is in the objects of the world. Okay? But once you realize, hey, I am happiness, you're not going to be looking for happiness anywhere else. And that is real moksha. So,
Yeah, Vishwaji's that question about that attachment to the mumukshatvam is, I would say, consider like in sports, right? When you start, say, with winning the game, some people actually, you can see that some people actually just cry after they lose. And but if a professional, right, they actually just put their best effort to reach the goal, but if you are not winning, still they just walk out happily that as they put their best effort.
exactly,
That's how I should,
right.
right?
So that is the kind of real sportsmanship, is actually that kind of person is in real equanimity. Okay. That kind of a
sure.
person succeeds in not just the game. He might lose the game, but he has succeeded in life.
Yeah, I think all emotions are there, but as you said, Raghuji, he's one who attained that equanimity. He's able to observe it and kind of quickly come out of that emotion.
Right, exactly. So that's exactly the measure of our spiritual progress. When you get in a miserable situation, or like somebody criticizes you or whatever, how long does it take to get out of that anger or depression or delusion? Okay.
But
Yeah.
actually, I kind of see it as a gradual graph of progression, Raghuji. From here, I don't think unless they are a blessed soul, it will directly shift from a normal being to a pure sattvic and Vishuddha Sutva, you know, or a Purushottama stage, right? Like it'll shift from a Rajasic to Sattvic, right? The attachments might be more from a Rajasic and Tamasic to Sattvic. Uh,
Exactly.
pure
Um,
progression of.
Right. It is a slow progress. Okay. If somebody says, "Oh, I was like this and suddenly I became realized," okay, and so you really question it. Okay. So that's why whole Bhagavad Gita, the 17th and 18th chapters elaborate on the called Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas that was talked in the 14th chapter. How to practice on each of those things. Uh, Tapa, dana, food, the speech, all these things were beautifully elaborated by Lord Krishna for us. How to gradually change from tamas to rajas. That's why if you read, if I am right, the commentary of Gurudev in the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, okay, a tamasic person can't become a sattvic person.
Yes, sir.
Okay, tamasic person should be stimulated to selfish action. Okay, hey, if you do this, that you are going to get so much money. If you do this, that you will be get recognized. If you do this and constantly work, consistently work, hey, you can buy a house, you can buy a car. Okay, you can't teach him karma yoga for a tamasic person. Okay, and he has to have personal desire, and only after so many years that he has become established and he's satisfied, oh, that he's really a rajasic person with what do you call it, a big ego. Okay, then if somebody says, hey, you want to become the president of this association or things like that, and then he is looking for happiness not beyond this material wealth, and then he starts getting involved in the community activities and all that, and then he starts sharing his time and also little wealth, and then starts seeing the benefit of sharing, and slowly that he so realizes without somebody telling that his happiness is in giving, not just accumulating. So that's why
Best example is Ratan Tata, Raghuji.
say it again.
I guess best example is Ratan Tata.
Right, exactly. People like that, right? And that's why when you are young, okay, unless you have that kind of a sannyas like Shankaracharya and all that, if you feel, oh, I want to go and serve, okay, well, you don't have any knowledge, number one, okay, of the Vedanta to teach, okay, and just have a little muscle power, what are you going to serve? Okay. Go and get educated. That's why Chinmaya Swamiji says you have to have at least a basic college education so that you can learn Vedanta properly. Okay. Actually, if you are a professional, yeah, like a master and things like that, it's even better because that way you have worked in the world or you have seen their capacity for worldly achievements, but you want to give up everything and then go back to Vedanta. So you have tested yourself to see if you are going to get attached to the world. Okay. Oh, I got a good job. Oh, now I'm earning so much. Okay. So are you getting attached? No. Hey, I want all that. I don't want all this. I want, that is the kind of person who is a real sadhaka and who is accepted in the Chinmaya mission for the brahmachari courses. So, see, but even if you are a little slower, okay, you continue to work, and then gradually from karma to you change to karma yoga. So that's the reason I like third, fourth, and fifth chapters of Bhagavad Gita, where there's a beautiful transition from karma to karma yoga to gnanam, that means intellectual gnanam, and then in the fifth chapter you come to that naishkarmyam. That means the body continues to work, but you have realized I am not the karta, I am the atman. So so much similarities of each. Okay, is supposed to be Dinesh next, I guess.
I read it now.
Oh, you read Karpagam then.
Hari Om,
Hari Om.
section 68. Carrot
Characteristics of attachment and detachment. Sri Rama asked, O sage, how does attachment arise? How does it create bondage for a human being? What form of attachment could lead one to liberation? How can the disease of attachment be cured? Sage Vashishta replied, O Rama, by reflecting upon the distinction between the body, matter, and the dweller in the body, the spirit, one develops detachment. Due to the lack of discrimination, the spirit and body are mutually identified. The erroneous notion that this body is the self is the root cause of attachment or sangha. And it is this attachment that has brought about the tree of the world process. The self is infinite, eternal, and immutable. It is beyond the limitation of time, space, and causation. But overcome by ignorance, an individual soul loses the awareness of its essential identity with the absolute self, and consequently seeks happiness by running after the objects of the world. This is called attachment, which binds the soul to the world process.
Want to comment?
Well, it says again, get to know yourself.
Yeah.
Inner self.
Yeah. It's the same subject being repeated again and again and again for people like us to continue to contemplate on it and continue to develop that detachment. Any kind of little doubts we have, they are answered, if not answered in the previous chapter, in this chapter or next chapter. So that is the benefit of this elaborate description. Whatever that start in 700 verses in Bhagavad Gita is expanded with here with numerous stories into about 28,000 verses. So. Okay, Mano Naidu is not here. Maya Amma here today? No, Maya Amma is not here today also. Nag, you want to continue, sir?
Oh Rama, this entire visible world is essentially the self. What is there to be desired or rejected? When this spiritual vision attains its maturity, one becomes liberated in life and becomes established in detachment. You should develop the inward conviction I am not limited by the ego sense. I am the self underlying all names and forms. There is nothing in this world other than the self. It does not matter to me whether this illusory body enjoys pleasure of the object or remains deprived of them. I am ever detached from the body. This form of conviction leads one to liberation. He who does not brag about renouncing all actions or does not engage himself in actions for the sake of perishable results. He who is ever balanced in gain and loss, success and failure, and he who has renounced the fruits of action because of inward surrender to God, such a person is called Asamsakta, a person of detachment. So this paragraph says what we should be meditate upon or contemplate on when we sit on meditation. Saying I'm not this body, I'm the self and all those things. But personally I think Akhil always argue with me, personally I feel it is easy to follow all this and practice detachment if things are going good. If life is smooth, it is easy to practice all this, honestly, I feel. But if there is some deviation from the smoothness, if you run into turbulence, all this goes away. And we started thinking about, instead of praying for Loka Kalyan, we started praying for ourselves. Or at least I pray for myself if things are not going the right way, I think.
But here, Raghuji, I tell him, you know how we studied to see who is the boss. Is the body the boss, the mind the boss, or the intellect the boss? So talk to yourself and say, hey, the mind is trying to tell me this, but I know that is not true, and understand that you should not be listening to the mind and you should go towards the higher cause. And I
Right.
keep telling him that, and he'll argue with me to no end about this.
Good. I'm glad. I'm glad you both of you shared that. It is the same thing for all of us. Okay, that's what Chinmaya Swamiji says. Why do you get married? Okay, there is some deficiency in you, and you find a match, and think that that you combine and become one. Okay, and so if both of us are in the spiritual path, and one helping the other, that is just a beautiful satsang for spiritual progress, just like that the story of Basa and Vilasa in the previous story. There are two different friends, but here, though we are called husband and wife, okay, we are actually in the spiritual path. We are two sadhakas in the spiritual progress, and I'm glad you shared that thing.
For
Only
me, Raghuji, that for me, then when this type of conflicts comes, at least the satsang actually remind me, saying that okay, I am supposed to go through this and just come out of with these intelligence teachings. I get it from the satsang.
yeah, yeah,
So I'm then I when I go through it, I just say, oh, this is I am supposed to face it. So
yeah,
go through it.
yeah.
So that is that strength I am getting out of this satsang. Really.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you. Very nice.
Raghuji, for me, my thought there is there are two different, as you said, one where the husband and wife, since husband and wife topic was brought up here, are in the same thought process. Then the Basha, Vilasha, thought process can fit in. Like both are in the same zone and they're trying to. But majority, if you see, you would agree, like 80% would be one having that deeper thought versus other on the opposite side or little bit driving towards there. So for me, that section would be more of Jivatma and Paramatma, where Jivatma trying to fight with Paramatma there, trying to win over the Paramatma there. Saying, hey, I am everything. Everything is happening through me. So, just a thought there.
I didn't get the message on that one.
No, I'm
Paramatma.
saying like you know uh, you know so two different. So one is more spiritual and towards that, and able to absorb any difficulties and cope up with it. The other
Right.
one, right? Like I'm just saying that
Right.
the best example of Basha Vilasha within our satsang group is Raghuji and Geeta, Geeta auntie. So where they are already in that aligned in that thought, right? And just
I don't know
the
about
majority would
that.
be.
Just because we are wearing white clothes, it doesn't mean that
No,
that.
you're
But anyway,
practicing. You're deeply into that thought. I just
yeah,
wanted to.
right,
I'm
right.
just using an example. I don't want to go
Yeah.
deep into it.
Yeah, only thing that if you want to take home the point on that is, yes, we are all in that spiritual path, and you know what I should do uh, when I get older, when my children are grown up and gone, and uh, I don't have to earn anymore. Okay, there's just enough to survive. I don't need to keep on accumulating wealth, and wealth is for my spiritual progress. And so now, okay, I'll continue the spiritual path more and more. So right now you might be doing 25% spiritual path, and then gradually it goes to 50% when you're 50, 60, and then gradually it should become 100% when you reach that age. So
Raghuji, is this also a lack of shraddha in our in whatever we are learning? Not having complete shraddha. When you're still on the fence, you don't know whether to jump this side or that side. That is where the mind can become stronger. But when your shraddha is so good, then you know that you have to just have that sharanagati and move on.
yeah, yeah. So that's the reason uh, wherever you see that satsang is stressed. Okay, for medium kind of spiritual sadhakas like us, that satsang is the one that keep us in the path. It won't. It will prevent you from dragging back to the material world. So that's why if you are materially oriented, what do? You have parties and all that with the same like-minded people. Okay, and even in parties, that you can always see that the doctors accumulate for in a party among themselves, attorneys or IT people, like separate because like-minded people. Okay, and so the same thing here, and so uh, that's why many a time you are interested in a spiritual path, but suddenly a soccer or football game came, and so there it will determine how strong is your mind. So if you drag it back and say, "Oh, I'm not going to go satsang today, I'm going to watch the game," okay, or you say, "Hey, it's okay, I'm going to just look at what the result is afterwards. I want to go to the satsang." Okay, so like that. So we ourselves can evaluate ourselves as we progress. So
Raghuji, there is another aspect we have to look into it, because we have to develop the Sarvatma Bhava. If you develop that part of it, there is nobody to be attached, there is nobody to be detached.
correct. Yeah, that is the final stage. you are talking
Well,
of
that
you are
is
talking you are talking of the realized man.
no,
You are
but
right.
that is the aspect we have to look when he's talking about, there is nothing other than self.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Everything is self. So like in a mud pot shop, everything is nothing but mud. So the same way that you have that attitude that everything is Brahman, then there's no question of like or dislikes. So that's the thing I like about that Lord Rama's that Ramayana story. Okay, Rama was ready to, what do you call, excuse Ravana, okay, if he returned Sita and apologized, okay. And who will have that kind of thing? And even after Ravana was, what do you call, shut down, and then, he asked Vibhishana, hey, go and do all the perform the duties, okay. And I don't know whether it is Vibhishana or Lakshmana. He asked them to go to Ravana and ask for advice for teaching. Okay, so all these things will happen from what kind of a person? A person of that kind of equanimity. So he didn't have any enmity to the body in person. Enmity to only to the action that he did. That's all. So that's why don't hate the sinner, hate the sin.
sin, sublimate.
Yeah, sublimate. Very good. Thank you, Nuligar. Okay, I think the Nag finished, right? Reading?
Yeah, I did, Raghuji.
Okay, so Rakesh ji, you want to continue, sir?
Yes, sir. Established in the self, he whose mind is not agitated by elation or grief, who is not overcome by anger or joy. Such a person is called detached. He is regulated in life. He renounces all actions and their fruits mentally, not only physically. Such a person is endowed with detachment, asamasakti. He performs action in order to inspire others to perform good deeds, but inwardly he is unaffected by actions, and therefore is reality he is ever free of all actions. With the absence of attachment, many auspicious qualities unfold in a human being, but with increasing attachment, all good qualities are obscured, and numerous evil invade a human personality. The same thing is talking about how, like a person is really not agitated with the elation or the grief. He's just like doesn't bother anger, joy. So equanimous. He's everything is for him. Nothing bother him. He just look like cool. Just nothing bother. He's just there, and he says he's liberated. He's really detached from everything, and he says some who are asamasakti, they perform the actions to inspire others to perform the good actions, good deeds, but they are not unaffected because they're really free from all the actions.
Yeah.
And the last paragraph he says, the absence of attachment, many auspicious qualities unfold in a human being. And that's true. Once you start going to the spiritual path, you see a lot of bad things really gradually get away. You not get involved in those because
Yeah.
you don't try to leave them. They just leave you.
Yeah.
And he said, but if you go towards the increasing attachment, then the good qualities are obscured and the numerous evil invades the human personality, and you just get in the bad things if you really get a lot of attachment, and you lose that good qualities what you have if you are not really in the attachments.
Right.
Hari Om.
Right. Yeah. So somebody might ask, if you don't have any interest in worldly things and all that, won't that person be a dull person? Okay. With, always just sitting and doing nothing. Say almost like you think he will become a tamasic person. But it's quite opposite. Okay. That person, though reveling in his own self, like Nuligar was mentioning, he has that Sarvatma Bhava and he enjoys life. Okay? He enjoys the life more than anybody can think of. Okay? Because everything is bliss for him. Okay? And that kind of a person is there. That is the reason that kind of a person attracts people. Okay? So many people, if you read life story of Chinmaya Swamiji, okay, there are people who moved with him from one town to the other and town to the other to keep listening to the satsangs and lectures. Okay. Why? Just by sitting in the presence of such a person is a blissful experience, and that he projects that kind of a vibration where your mind is completely attracted, absorbed in him, so that all your worries and anxieties and all of them go away. So that is the greatness of that kind of person. So very nice. Okay, Ratnama.
Hey, Hari Om. Behold the donkey who carries a heavy burden, has his nostrils pierced by a rope, and who, whipped up by his cruel master, must continue to drudge along the toilsome road of misery. It is attachment that has brought the spirit to such a deplorable condition. It is attachment that led some spirits to be confined to one location in the form of trees, and which are subject to the severities of heat and cold. In this form, the spirit must continue to endure untold affliction in silence. Ones that lie in the pits of the earth and fight for their miserable existence are souls that have been led to the degraded state through attachment. Here, Swamiji is explaining how the attachment causes the miseries in life for one if you are attached to desires.
Yeah.
That's what we think about Hari Om, Dr.
Yeah.
Maybe
So
you
you can see how beautifully the results of attachment, results of detachment, alternately given to see, hey, which way you want to go. Particularly, the results of attachment in this life leads to being born as trees. Okay. Hey, I don't want to do anything. Okay, be born as a tree. You don't want to do anything. Spontaneously you grow and all that, depending upon the outside nature. Okay. Or if you're fighting with each other, or you will be a frog and a snake and things like that, which can become a food for you are looking for food from another, eating another animal, or you will be eaten by another animal, like that. So you'll continue to be like so. Do you want to be like that? So think. So okay, Shirisha Amma, you want to read?
Yes, Hari Om.
Hariom.
Um, it is attachment that led some spirits to be confined to
That,
one location. That's over.
not,
Okay.
not that one, Amma. I think you're supposed to read the birds.
Oh, the birds. Birds that dwell in trees and while away their time starving for food and who are injured and wounded by fowlers are illustrations of the degrading conditions caused by increasing attachment. Deer in the forest that feed on grass and tender shoots are subjected to the cruel arrows of hunters, and thus injured and afflicted, they meet their end. This is indeed the fruit of attachment. Led by attachment, souls are born again and again. They rise and fall like the waves in the ocean. They suffer repeatedly from delusion, downfall, physical and mental ailments, separation from dear relatives, loss of objects of desire, frustrations, fears, and numerous forms of grief.
Want to comment?
Um, it continues in the same vein as the earlier paragraphs.
Yeah.
If you have attachment, you'll be born in lower forms of life, but it's not clear what causes somebody to be born as a worm versus a bird or deer.
Yeah, the way I was looking at it, each paragraph shows a little progression in evolution. Okay, so you can be born as a like a grass, or you can be born as trees. That's the lowest form of life. Okay, and then gradually, okay, then there's an evolution of that soul into a higher life. And everything depends upon, from what I understand, from the previous, like a human birth, the good actions and the bad actions that you have done. Okay. And from the bad actions, you, just like when you do the good actions, you go to heaven and the results are limited and then you come back. Same way, here, all the negative vasanas that you had, you exhaust them by being born as a tree, and then you had a little higher growth, then vasana, then you will be born as like an animal, and then gradually you come back to a human life, and then you get another chance for your sadhana. Okay. And whether you get attached to the material things again and fall down again, or if you had done some good karmas, that you will be dragged towards a guru and satsang. That depends upon your own past karmas. So that's why Gita was telling the other day the benefit of satsang. You want to tell that story, Gita? Narada story?
I think everybody knows that story.
Okay.
Narada wanted to know this the greatness of satsang, and he went to Lord Narayana. Narayana said, "When to go to this bird on this tree and ask, the bird will tell you." And Narayana went. I mean, Narada went there, and Narada asked, and the bird looked at Narada and it died. And so he got scared, he said, what happened? And so he went back to Bhagavan, and Bhagavan said, oh, don't worry, don't worry. Now, go to this calf that was just born. And so Narada went there, he asked the same question, and the calf looked at Narada, and the calf died. And so he went back to Narayana and said, no, 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 just, I'm telling this story short, okay? When Guruji tells this story, he makes it very, very long. Anyway, so Bhagavan says, no, this is just go this time
and you will get the answer. And he says, a prince is born, and go and bless that prince. Narada is very, very scared because he says, what if the prince dies and the king is going to kill me? So he goes there and he blesses the child, and he points at time when nobody was around. And so he asked the baby and he says, tell me the greatness of satsang. And the baby smiles at Narada and he says, the baby says, I was that bird, I was that calf, and because of the satsang I had with you, even for a moment, now I'm born as a prince.
Yeah. Yeah. The same way, there's a story called Kitako Pasana. There's a story of Vyasa Maharshi is going, and then he sees a little ant or some creature crossing the street very fast. And so Vyasa Maharshi can talk to even animals. And he asked, hey, why are you running in so hurry? So he said, well, I don't want to be killed by this cart. Like that. So every jiva wants to survive. Okay, and then the satsang continues, and he himself says, because of this satsang of meeting with me, that you will spiritually progress, like that. So. So that's why we need to keep on reading this kind of stories. That way, any kind of gaps in our minds uh, get filled up, so that hey, this spiritual path is true. And but most important thing we have to remember is the people who have realized, like Chinmaya Swamiji or so many other Swamis, you know, they were well educated, and they could have done become big corporate leaders if they had gone into the worldly life. Okay, but they left everything. Okay, and why? They knew what the real path is, and once they reached it, and they have reached their goal. And so, though the path is difficult, the path itself is really a good sadhana, and you have to enjoy the path. And gradually, as you get involved in it, you realize that yes, the sadhana itself is a blessing. That you're happier living like this than in the attachment to the worldly things. You're still in the world, but not of the world. Okay, we'll stop here, though we still got another couple of pages to go. And so we will start in 2 weeks from today.
Prabhuji, before you conclude, can I share a personal story of how your satsang has helped me evolve? So the other day, we have a lady in our school who has cancer. And so we all pooled in and we said we'll buy a shirt, and proceeds from that sales of the shirt will go help that lady. She's a teacher. And so she was going through a lot of therapy and she couldn't get full pay. So she was really short on money. So we all bought the shirt. And one lady refused to buy it. She was a very good lady, but she refused to buy. She said she's a Christian lady, but she said it has a psalm verse in there. And she said she doesn't belong to that sect of Christianity, so she doesn't want to buy. Then I asked her, how does it matter? Your purpose here is to say, and she said, no, 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 this is that church, so I will not do. And I said, imagine there is a building there, and that is a church now. It was your kind of a church. And that church goes away in a storm or something, and then a Buddhist people buy it and they build a Buddhist temple. That goes away in some years, and then there is a Hindu temple that goes away, and now there is another Christian. It's the same space, and people come, and I was reminded of your part space, Raghuji, and all this came because of my satsang. And I sat there, and she looked at me, and she's like, God, you said it like this. Now it makes me feel bad. Maybe I'll go buy the shirt.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, and another way you could have asked, yes, okay, don't buy the shirt, give me the money. So anyway, so it's a joke. So thank you for sharing, Amma. So that is the thing. Once we are on the path, as our mind gets purified, we look at everything in a positive way. So ओके ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ओम श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम
Hari Om, everybody.
Hari
So,
Om, Hari Om,
and
Hari
I want to see who is going to do this summary next class. Who did the summary today?
I will do it, Dr. Abdul. I will do it. That's my
Okay.
turn.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Hari Om, sir.
Hari Om.
Hari Om,
Om.
Hari Om,
We'll see in
Raghuji.
2 weeks, not
Hari
next
Om,
week.
Gitanti.
Okay.
Hari Om.